All right, howdy folks. Today for photography, we're talking about framing, and we're not talking about actual frames, putting pictures inside of a frame, but we got to think about that idea. Why do frames make pictures and paintings look better? For some reason, they do. It just kind of creates a finished visual version of it, add some contrast between the borders, and just really helps define and draw the viewer to the photographs rather than maybe a photo or a painting just hanging on the wall there. So we want that same idea for our photography, but for this we're really pumping it up. Here we're looking for elements that are in our physical space already that we can use as more natural frames to really emphasize our subject. Because again, you'll hear me repeat, that's what we want as photographers. We want a subject and we want to emphasize them. We want to draw the viewer straight to them. So what better way to do that than frame them inside of your picture frame? So sometimes it's called frame within a frame. I just call it simply framing. So what we'll look at here, if we look at our Google Slides here, to the left I have student examples, which are all very good, and to the right I have some examples that I found online. Let's look at the online examples first. Now you'll see some aspects of loose frames, okay? And I think this one of the mountain here really emphasizes that idea really well. We see kind of these flowers. We can see through the flowers and the tree branches. It's not a solid frame, but still, look how it wraps around the top portion of the picture frame itself, the dimensions here, and just really focuses our attention on the mountain. Okay, same thing happening here. Obviously, we got a chain link fence, hole kind of pushed and pulled to draw us to focus on the city here. We can see through the fence, but having this really clear opening creates some frames. And then sometimes framing can just be a simple line here. Here it really draws our attention to the boy here. Notice rule of thirds. And yeah, it's not solid, it's not blocked off, as we'll see in some other examples down below. But it's just kind of a simple line here. And it's part of the elements here. They're playing croquet, so that's kind of cool too. So it's actually the croquet bar that's doing the framing here. All right, some more solid frames down here. Reflections, mirrors, reflections and puddles are always good framing aspects. Here we see one aspect here, and we see her face actually being framed here in the mirror. Here's the actual window frame. Windows could be pretty boring, but this one's pretty unique. It's on a train or subway. That guy's walking by, there's movement, and you kind of focus on the space here and what's going on here. Here's a wedding photograph to the right, using the really kind of bushy tree here. Pretty solid. You can see some sky in between there. But notice how it wraps around the subject, and that tree's being reflected here on the water, so it's creating some shadow elements. And here we just kind of got this open space, almost kind of looks like a boomerang type of open negative space here. Down below I just came across this last minute. This is kind of a more looser frame. A really cool conceptual idea for wedding photography. Taking the two wedding rings, placing them in the sand. We got a low point of view. We got rule of thirds down below. We got symmetry right in the middle. And just kind of creates this nice cool wedding or engagement photo going on there. So let's see how students have done that in the past. Okay, this one I really love because it was kind of a clever way to add some framing. Got a really unique object like this cactus, and the blooming cactus especially. And probably the student's mom or older sister, maybe younger sister, don't tell her I said that. And they're actually using the actual edge of the photo itself as the frame, which it naturally does. So it's kind of in this triangular open space. Student down below, we can imagine that, you know, maybe we come across some architecture, really interesting, but, you know, adding this frame kind of really shows where we're at and creates this really cool, sorry about that, always happens to me. That's what happens with Apple mouses. But adding this really cool cave-like organic frame that wraps around the top and all the way to the side here really kind of frames the space, which makes it look nicer. This one, you guys can tell, was taken at school in the library. Notice how the student went behind the bookcase, really kind of showcasing the students, you know, perusing the library for books rather than just taking a picture straight on with the books behind it. They're on the opposite side here and taking a vantage point of looking through the bookcase, and we can kind of see, you know, how this really defines our subject here and puts them inside of a different frame. How many times did I say frame? That should be a bonus question here. Maybe I'll have a prize for you guys if you guys can count how many times I said frame. So the purpose for this, again, just draw attention to your subject. You really want to find some unique ways that you can frame your subject here. People kind of just use their fingers sometimes or hold up an actual empty frame. Those, yeah, that gets across the idea, but you want to find some unique objects here, which I think you can find and see in a lot of these examples here. Also, if you look up framing photography online, you'll see a lot of different examples going on here. And second purpose here, I think what really helps add to framing photographs is it adds depth. And I'm gonna go back here. What I mean by that, it has something in the foreground, something in the background. Again, something in the foreground here, the framing, something in the background, framing in the foreground here, subject in the background. And so it's just not flat, it adds some dimension there that I think really adds to your photographs. So hopefully that makes sense for you. Again, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. You guys can look up any of these concepts online. You can literally put in the titles here, framing and photography, and you'll get a lot more examples and see how other photographers have done it. And it comes across pretty clearly. But again, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And again, take lots of photos. For this one, explore your physical space, see what you can find for maybe a unique frame that you can use for your subject. All right, take care and talk to you soon.